Hope you've enjoyed the first week of summer, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Weather or Not. Brandon Orr is in the forecaster's chair this week, giving you your weekend forecast, which may include a couple lightning strikes. Also in the lineup is Sydney Daniel, who returns with a feature on how thunderstorms affect the Penn State Golf Course. Stay tuned because Weather or Not starts right now. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Weather or Not. I'm your host, Jackie Layer.
And I'm your forecaster, Brandon Orr.
Well, Brandon, earlier this week I got to open up my windows, turn off the AC because it was beautiful outside and had a nice, beautiful breeze coming through the window as well.
It did, same here. It just felt great, especially on Monday and Tuesday. High temperatures were in the low to mid 70s. Just felt amazing, but that's all going to change. Especially coming up this weekend, you want to stay tuned to the forecast.
I was hoping you weren't going to say that, but stay tuned for his forecast. But for now, we're going to have nature in the news.
The warmer winter we've experienced could also be affecting jellyfish. According to oceanographer Christopher Brown, the jellyfish are expected to surface sooner and could remain in the water longer than average due to higher water temperatures and salinity levels this year. Jellyfish usually pop up in the hotter months of July and August, but with the warmer winter, they could emerge even earlier. For most of the year, jellyfish are in a resting stage in which they attach to shells at the bottom of an estuary. They surface when the water surpasses 68 degrees. Salinity of the water also plays a role because it determines the distribution of the jellyfish. The lack of rainfall in the Chesapeake Bay area and Delaware beaches has resulted in a higher salt content, allowing for a better environment for the jellyfish to thrive. Jellyfish are not a factor in local lakes, but if you are planning on a family vacation to the beach, especially Delaware, you may need to look out for the jellyfish the next time you dive into the ocean.
With summer upon us, campfires are a great way to mingle with friends or relax with a s'more. However, it may not be the best for your lungs. According to researchers, more than half of the soot inhaled from wood fires, diesel-fueled vehicles, and coal-driven power stations remain in the body. In population studies recently conducted, researchers have been able to observe that people who live in areas with high concentrations of particulates in the air are more likely to be affected by both respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. Jenny Rissler, a researcher in aerosol technology at Lund University's Faculty of Engineering, says, currently there is no specific limit for soot particles in the air, despite the fact that soot in the air is linked to both lung cancer and other diseases. Jenny Rissler will be conducting more studies looking into individual variations of lung deposition and exposing cells to soot. In the meantime, you may want to sit a little farther from those campfires.
Have you ever thought about how much your genes affect our climate? Some estimates suggest that more than 2,500 gallons of water, nearly a pound of chemicals and energy, go into making one pair of genes. Now multiply that by the 2 billion pairs of genes that are made each year, and that's how much of an impact the genes industry has on the Earth. At the 16th Annual Green Chemistry and Engineering Conference, a process called Advanced Denim, developed by Miguel Sanchez, a textile engineer at a chemical company in Switzerland, was a highlight at the conference. The process uses 92% less water and up to 30% less energy. The process produces almost no wastewater and even generates 87% less cotton waste. Cotton waste usually is burned, which adds carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the air. With his process, Miguel Sanchez says it could save enough water to cover the needs of 1.7 million people every year, which equates to about 2.5 billion gallons of water annually.
If you think last week was hot here in central Pennsylvania, Texas has hit the 100-degree mark on Sunday and are forecasted for several more days of extreme heat this week. The surge of heat may even set records with temperatures. However, it has already set a record on power usage. Texas power usage set a record on Monday when power demand reached 65,047 megawatts, passing last year's June record of 63,102 megawatts. Luckily, taking what they learned from last year's excessive power usage, Texas has been preparing for this summer's heat by opening up power plants that have been dormant over the years. Back here in central Pennsylvania, at least we had some relief from the heat earlier this week with temperatures in the 70s. Brandon Orr is up next with the forecast with the answer to the question, will we be able to keep the air conditioning off into the weekend?
Well, this week started off just great. Low humidity, temperatures a little bit below average in the low to mid 70s, but already you are feeling it. Change is in the making, and the culprit for that is a rather large ridge of high pressure centered over the central part of the United States. Very warm air mass with triple-digit temperatures that's heading towards the mid-Atlantic with some westerly winds advecting that air mass in. But around that is a plume of moisture coming in off the eastern Pacific that we call the ring of fire around that ridge. Could kick off a few showers by this weekend. But the warmest of the days will be on Friday. Look at this, temperatures into the low to mid 90s. Start the day off with a few extra clouds, but those will tend to decrease later on in the afternoon. But by the overnight hours, 68 degrees, a few broken clouds, not a bad night whatsoever. And through the first half of the weekend with a weak cold front coming through on Friday, not going to drop our temperatures off much. 90 degrees, could see a few isolated showers later on in the day, but those will be more widespread during the overnight hours. Low temperatures into the mid 60s. And by the time Sunday comes around to end out the weekend, highs in the upper 80s, maybe a few light showers. Coming up next is the Weather Whiz Quiz, where we test your knowledge about lightning for Lightning Awareness Week.
This week I headed over to the Penn State Golf Course to learn a little bit about a sport that they say is played rain, sun, or shine, and only canceling when lightning is in the sky. I headed over to the Walker Clubhouse to learn a little bit about how weather affects this golf course hours. At the Walker Clubhouse, I asked Joe Hugh a few questions about the golf course, and the first one was, do the golf hours vary season to season? And do they even close the whole entire winter?
If weather permits, we're open year-round. We did have a couple seasons ago where it was 60 degrees January 1st, and we're here and open and ready to go. So, you know, it's just all weather permitting, but we are open 12 months out of the year.
60 degrees in January? Well, it is possible. If the course is open year-round, then there has to be a time that they close when thunderstorms are in the area. It may be obvious to most that when the lightning strikes, the last place anyone would want to be is outside holding a metal rod. And while there's no such thing as being a lightning magnet, it is always safest to be inside during a thunderstorm. So how do the golfers on the course know when severe weather is approaching? Or how do they know when it's already here? Mr. Hughes filled me in with more information on how the golf course operates around severe weather.
ThorGuard is an automatic system that will go off, and the siren, if we do notice something intense coming, we will give ample time, like we'll hit the alarm ourselves saying, okay, we know this is going to get real bad, let's get people off. If it's kind of a blimp on the radar screen and you do see some different things, we might let the automatic system just do what it's supposed to do. Within 10 miles, it will go off.
ThorGuard, as you see here, is a service all over the United States. While it is nearly impossible to detect where a single lightning bolt will strike the ground, the region of possible lightning strikes can be predicted. ThorGuard focuses on the electrostatic field of the atmosphere and is able to read the activity through a proprietary program developed after hundreds of hours of thunderstorms monitoring, and is able to predict the probability of lightning strikes in a predetermined area of concern. Mr. Hughes then told me that there are different severity levels that the course looks out for using ThorGuard.
There's different levels. There's green, which is all clear. Then there's a cautionary level, which will go up and down throughout the day depending upon the atmosphere. But once it goes up to warning, that's when our staff is on, high alert, saying, hey, there is something coming. We'll make sure if we do know of a storm coming that we'll notify our guests prior to going out to play through our starters area, as well as if we do notice something coming, we'll physically drive out, talk to every single group that when you hear this loud blast, when it finally does go to the 4th level, which is red alert, to stop play immediately, seek shelter. Once the storm comes through, there's a 3 short blast, means it's all clear. This system, ThorGuard, is all automatic, it's hands-free. We just met with the risk management folks at Penn State University because we report to Penn State Athletics, and of course with all the athletics fields in the area, this is a main concern to have some type of prediction system that you can make a call, make a decision in case there is some dangerous weather approaching. We also use something called Weather Intellicast, which gives automatic email, shout-outs, text messages when there is some type of protection system. There is some type of lightning within 30 miles of this area.
So whether you're golfing in the rain or shine, or just spending some time outside, always pay attention to the weather forecast. Here at Penn State, we're lucky to have such a great golfing facility where safety mechanisms such as ThorGuard are put into practice to give visitors their best experience here at the Penn State Golf Course.
It's time for the extended forecast where we will find out if the heat will last into next week. But first we have to get through the heat coming up this weekend where we will see temperatures into the 90s. Our warmest day will be on Friday. Look at this, into the low to mid 90s on Friday. Plenty of sunshine. The dew point will be up, so it'll feel very sticky and humid out as well. But by Friday night, not cooling off too much into the upper 60s to right around 70 degrees. Going to feel very balmy out during the overnight on Friday night. Heading into the weekend, temperatures cooling off just a little bit, but not by much. 90 on Saturday, 88 on Sunday. Could see an isolated thunderstorm or two both on Saturday and Sunday, but I do want to emphasize that it's not going to be a washout by any means. And by the time we get into next week, we will see temperatures into the mid 80s. Our average for this time of year is into the low 80s, so we will be above average through next week into the mid 80s. We'll see a better chance of some showers and thunderstorms move on through during 4th of July on Wednesday and into the latter half of next week.
Well, thanks, Brandon, for that forecast. Now, you mentioned that we might be seeing a thunderstorm in the middle of the week. Is that going to be affecting our fireworks display for 4th of July?
You know what? It could. We do have a disturbance moving through Pennsylvania right around the middle of next week, right around 4th of July. So it could spark off a few showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon. We'll want to keep an eye on it.
Okay, definitely. Thank you. And speaking of thunderstorms and lightning, considering it is Lightning Awareness Week, we asked you guys at home with the Weather Whiz quiz question. What state leads the country in lightning damage? Is it A, Florida, B, Texas, C, South Dakota, or D, Pennsylvania? And believe it or not, Brandon, the answer is D, Pennsylvania.
You know what? You really stumped me with this one. I'm sure you stumped a lot of people with this one as well. Me personally, I thought the answer was Florida, being Florida does see quite a bit of thunderstorms throughout the year because they're closer to the tropics. But you know what? We are getting into summertime where the heat and humidity of the day helps to spark off those afternoon showers and thunderstorms.
Definitely, and what we like to say here is when thunder roars,
you'll want to go indoors.
Definitely. Now, aside from thunderstorms, we're going to talk a little bit more about July 4th and how we're going to celebrate it here at the Penn State campus for 4th Fest.
Yes, there is a lot of events going on for 4th Fest. Let's see, we have the 4K in the morning, followed not too far after by the parade, and also who can forget the fireworks rated 3rd largest in the nation.
Definitely, and we have food, fun, and fireworks, and that's all conveniently located at the Penn State campus, right near Beaver Stadium and the Bryce Jordan Center.
That's right. We will be filming for a special edition of Whether or Not down in 4th Fest coming up next week. But if you want more information on the festival, you can visit their website at www.fourthfest.org.
Well, that concludes Whether or Not episode 4 this week. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm your host, Jackie Layer.
And I'm your forecaster, Brandon Orr.
Have a great day.